beep. All right. So, I like doing this section of this unit right now because it's right before your cumulative exam, and your cumulative exam covers measurement, and this stuff is easily explained using measurements. So it works out really nicely. How do I find the area of this rectangle? Length times width. So if I were to do this, that's got a width of 2 and a length of 4. So area equals length times width, which in this case is 4 times 2, which is 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Everybody agree, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Mrs. Bagcrumble taught you that in grade 2. What if it's a square? A square is a special rectangle. What is special about it? The sides are equal, right? So since it's still a rectangle, it's still length times width. But what do we know about length and width in a square? Right, length equals width in a square. So I could write LW, or I could write WW, or I could write LL, or I could write side, side. Is everybody cool with that? And how do I write this in math class? Because math guys are lazy. They don't write SS. What do they write? S squared. And that is where that term comes from. That is why we say squared when we have an exponent of 2. It's also where we get the square root expression comes from. Okay? It's because when you make a square, you have two sides that are the same. So if you're provided with the area of a square, how can you determine each side length? So if I tell you this square is 16 centimeters squared, how do you know how long each side is? That's if it was the perimeter. I'm talking area. I'd square root, right? The side equals the square root of the area. Everybody cool? This was discovered from building stuff. Then math guys said, hey, wait a minute, that will work all the time. And they brought it into math from engineering. Is everybody cool up to there? It's not news, right? This symbol, you've seen it before, you've used it on your calculator. When do we use square roots in your math career so far? Pythagoras. We use it all the time in Pythagoras, right? Okay. It's got lots of other uses. Tons of other uses. But for some strange reason, we let you go all the way to grade 10 before we do anything else with it except Pythagoras. So, this is asking you to find, and I'm going to do something weird here that you're not going to, it's going to make not a lot of sense right away. You guys see that, you see square root, right? But what it is actually asking you to find is the positive principal root. What? What do you mean? This is what I mean. What is the square root of 16? 4. Why? Because 4 times 4 is 16, right? What is the square root of 25? 5. Why? Because 5 times 5 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25, right? Right? What is the square root of x squared? X. Because x times x would give us x squared, right? You with me? Everybody cool with that? Okay, now here's what nobody bothered. Well, maybe they told you, maybe they didn't. What is negative 4 squared? It's positive 16, isn't it? What's negative times a negative makes positive, doesn't it? So negative 4 times negative 4 makes positive 16, right? So does 16 have another square root? Negative 4. It's also got negative 4. Is everybody cool with that? We are concerned with only the positive one right now. Later on in your math career, you need to recognize there's another square root. But for our purposes, we only want the positive one. Everybody cool? All right. Now, it's asking you to find the positive principal square root. So what is that? That's the two equal factors. Right? So what do I mean by that? 2 times 2 equals 4. So the square root of 4 is 2. Everyone's good with that, right? That's not news to anyone, yeah? Right? And everyone can do that on their calculator, yeah? Okay. Shift gears. How do we find the volume of this thing? Area of the base times what? The height, right? So the area of the base here is this rectangle, right? Everyone agrees? Since it's a rectangle, it must have a length and a width, correct? And then we multiply that by the height. Everyone cool? Okay. So volume is length times width times height. What if it's a cube? A cube is a special prism. What is special about it? L equals W equals H. So instead of S squared, what do we do for a cube? S times S times S. Math guys are lazy. Do we write it that way? No, we write it as S cubed. And that's where that saying comes from. Everybody cool? You've heard squared and cubed, right? That's where it comes from geometry. Everybody good? Okay. So, you guys are smart kids. If the area of a square, 16, I take the square root of 16 to get the side, what must I have to do to get the volume to get the side? It was S squared and I did square root. Volume is S cubed. So what do? Cube root. So I take the cube root. Now what's different? What's different between this and this? Look at how I've written it. Look at this. There's a little 3 there. Everyone see that little 3? Okay. This little 3 is asking you to find the cube root. So if a square root had 2 factors, 4 and 4 to make 16, a cube root has what? 3 factors. So I need 3 equal factors. Easy peasy. Now, here's the first new thing that's really new. The small 3 is called the index. Please highlight that. The index tells me how many factors I need. So, if there's no number there, that's a square root, right? So how many factors do I need? 2. If there's a 3 there, how many factors do I need? 3. If there's a 4 there, how many factors do I need? 4. So no matter what the little number is there, that's the number I have to find. Is everybody with me? Everybody cool? Whatever the index number is, that's the group of factors for which I am looking. Got it? All right. A perfect square or a perfect cube is any number which has these sets of factors. Okay? A perfect square has 2. A perfect cube has 3. Everybody with me? Everybody good? Okay. No, I'm going to do that in a minute. I hope everyone has a calculator today. You will need it, but not right now. Everybody good? Okay. Turn the page over. Square and cube roots are super important as you go further in math. They're really, really useful. So we're going to write them all down up to 20 and up to 1,000. Up to 10. We're going to do the squares first. So we're going to write the first 20 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you were in my grade 9 class, you've already done this. You should have it already memorized. 10. Then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Then I'm going to put in the squares. What is 1 times 1? 1. Then what? 4. Then what? And so on. Let's fill it in. See how many you know without looking up. Could anybody get all the way to 20?
I got to
12? Good old 12 times table. Then, of course, you just do the pattern, right? You add 25, add 27, add 29, add 31. Trust me, there's a reason I'm doing this. I will never test you on your memory, but it will make your life easier if you actually know these. I won't test you on your memory because this is not memory 10, this is math 10. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the cubes. This is where I forget. 729. Nope, that's not right. 343. 512. 9 times 9 times 9. 9 times 9 times 9. 729. And 1,000. Woo! The gray hair hasn't penetrated to my brain yet. It will soon. Oh, speaking of hair penetrating to the brain, I saw the new Beauty and the Beast last night. I enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. Gentlemen, good date movie. Ladies, don't believe them. They're not that romantic. They're taking you to the movie because they heard that it was a good date movie. Gentlemen, good date movie. Ladies, boys are liars. Cover all my bases. Why did I get you to do this? I'm about to show you. Up until now, finding a square root or a cube root was the end of the question, wasn't it? Right? When we do Pythagoras, the whole point by the end is to get a square root, right? But you're in grade 10 now. Math is going to get hard. And sometimes, as you go further in math, you have many, many calculations to do to get an answer. What happens if you do all those calculations on your calculator, you get an answer, you write it down, and it's totally wrong? Have you just wasted your time? Yeah. But if you know some of these, then you can estimate your answer before you do any work. And that's why I like... Yeah? Let's have a look. I don't see why that wouldn't. Yeah. All right, throw some holes in there. Another one of them. Thanks. My dog jumped on my dishwasher. Made the whole dishwasher tip forward. Broke the hooks that hold the dishwasher up. Shut up! All right, is everybody good? Okay, now I'm going to show you what we're going to do with these. We are going to use them to estimate this number. Now, before we go any further, I need to make sure everybody can find square roots and cube roots with their calculator. Okay? On your calculator, square root is easy. Every calculator has that button somewhere. Some of the calculators have a little X under there. All of you have that button. All of you know how to get square roots. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. Cube roots are a little harder to find. Look on your calculator for one of these buttons. Either an X outside a blank root. Some of you will have an actual cube root button with a little 3. Some of you will have this, which is a real pain in the butt. X with a fraction exponent. Does everybody have one of these blue buttons on their machine? Everyone? You've got the big fancy calculator, right, Brianna? Yours lives in math. See, there it is, cube root. So push the math button and then number 4 is your cube root. Got it? Cool? Okay. So everybody should be able to do that. Okay, so just make sure, right? Figure out on your machine how to do the cube root of 9. So some of you will need to do it's a backwards calculate, or cube root is 729. You'll need to go 729 cube root. And some of you will need to go cube root 729. It is 9, which I already told you it was, but I want you to be able to get it with your calculator. So for me, cube root, I enter 729 equals, and then I get my 9. Can everybody do it? Yeah? Well, you might be backwards. You might have to go 729, then hit the cube root button. Okay, can everybody do it? Yeah? Okay, sweet. So everybody can estimate. Good. Now, again, I'm going to show you guys this. Did you get yours to work? Push math. Push 4. So you should be looking at this screen now. Math 4. You should have a little 3 with the root. Then 7, 2, 9, enter. Good? Okay. Okay, if you're in my grade 9 class, you've already done this because I was preparing you for grade 10. Root 72. Now, first of all, don't do this with your calculator. Do not do what I'm about to do. Square root of 72 is a yucky number. Is it rational or irrational? Irrational, because it's not a perfect square, right? So we know it's an irrational number. So if we had to do math with the square root of 72, and we have a bunch of calculations to do, we should have an idea of where we're going before we get there. And this is where what I'm just been discussing comes into play. 72 is between 64 and 81, isn't it? Right? What is the square root of 64? You've just written it on a chart. 8. What is the square root of 81? 9. Is 72 closer to 64, closer to 81, or right in the middle? It's right in the middle. So its square root must be right in the middle of this, right? Which would be 8.5. Agreed? Now, when you look on your calculator, you see that it is 8.48, which is pretty damn close to 8.5, isn't it? Everybody with me? It will be helpful to you in future math if you are good at this now. So let's have a look at 180. What's it between? You got the chart right in front of you. 13 and 14, which is 169 and 196. Is 180 about right in the middle of those two? It's a little bit less than half, right? So what would a good guess be? 13 and a little bit less than half. 13.4? Let's check. Square root, 180. Holy crap. Everybody see? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. What's 300 between? 17 and 18, which is 289 and 324. Is it right in the middle, or is it closer to 289, or is it closer to 324? It's closer to 289, right? So 17, a half, a third, what? 17.2. Let's check if Emma's right. Hopefully she hasn't cheated and gone ahead and actually done this first. 17.2 or 17.3. If you had $17.30 and I had $17.20, would you say we have almost the same amount of money? Close enough to do an estimate? Yeah. Everybody picking up what I'm putting down? What changes in the next row? It's just cubes. So 45 is between what and what? 3, which is 27, and 4, which is 64. Is 45 closer to that, or right in the middle? It's pretty darn close to right in the middle, isn't it? It's 18 away from there, and it's 21 away from there. 3.5. Let's check. Remember, mine's weird. Cube root of 45. 3.55. Woo, doggy. We're smart kids. You guys do the next two. Then tell me your guesses. It's like those clappy things at the dollar store. What's 405 between? 7 and 8, which is 343, 512. 60 away from there, 100 away from there. Slightly closer to here, right? So 7 point what? 3? Because it's got to be less than half. Good job, Sarah. I'm not even going to check, because you're right. What about 176? 5, which is 125. 6, which is 216. 50 away from there, 40 away from there. So slightly more than half this time, right? 5.6. Is everybody cool with estimating? Going once? Going twice? Going thrice? Excellent. You guys should have a blank page in your book next if you turn over. Do you? Son of a... Gun. You know, I gotta build one of those things like in cartoons so I can jet steam out here. Like, so when I'm angry, I can go, and it goes, no? I think it would be funny. Yeah. Yeah, you don't think it would be funny? If when my computer went haywire, I went like this, and it went, none of you? Okay, this is a pain. You're supposed to have a blank page here. See how I have a blank page here? You guys are supposed to have a blank page here. Okay, don't worry about it because you're gonna have no problem with it. Just watch for a second. What is the square root of 9? 3. Everybody good? Okay. What is the square root of 16? 4. So what then is the square root of 9 over 16? 3 over 4. Everybody good? Everybody cool? Right? We're good? Okay. What then would you do if I gave you this? The square root of 10 over 17. Yeah, well, we just estimated these, didn't we? So the square root of 10 is pretty close to the square root of 9, right? So this is going to be pretty close. That means approximately 3. Yeah, it's close to 9/16. So it would be, the square root of it would be close to 3/4. Picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, so what would the square root of 225 over 16 be? 15 over 4. Easy peasy. Okay, you good? Everyone's good? Yeah? Okay, now the reason I'm showing you this is because you're all comfortable with square root of 9, square root of 16, square root of 64, right? You're aware that those are perfect squares. But I want you to be aware that you can have perfect squares of fractions as well. Because 15 times 15 is 224 times. Can you have perfect squares of decimals? Do you think? Do you think you can have a perfect square of a decimal? Yeah, sure you can. Because a square is any two numbers that are the same, right? So what if I took took 0.5 and multiplied it by 0.5, what would I get? 0.25. So what does that mean? That means the square root of 0.25 must be 0.5. Everybody cool? Okay. What then happens if I ask you for the square root of 25 over 100? What's the square root of 25? 5. What's square root of 100? 10. What's 5/10? That's 1/2, which is the same as 0.5. Everybody cool? Everybody good? Okay, now I want to do something that might actually cause trouble. What is the square root of 625? It's on your chart. No, it's not on your chart. It isn't. You need your calculator. What is it? 25. Everybody agree? Calculator does it. 25 times 25, 625. Everybody cool? Okay. Using your calculator again, what is the square root of 6.25? 2.5. Everybody cool? So using your best, smartest, smarty McSmartle pants, what do you think the square root of 62.5 is? Don't use your calculator. .625 got us 25. 6.25 got us 2.5. So this should be a 2 and a 5, shouldn't it? But of course it isn't, is it? Why? Because what is the square root of 62.5? 7 something, isn't it? 7.9, right? Why? Pardon me? It is weird. Because it should be 2s and 5s should be in it, shouldn't it? Here's why. 6.25 is 625 over 100, isn't it? Right? If you do 625 divided by 100 on your calculator, you're going to get that, aren't you? Everyone agree? Then if I take the square root of that, square root of 625 is 25, square root of 100 is 10. 25 divided by 10 is 2.5. Does everybody see that? What happens here? Why can't you do it here? Why? Yeah, because it's only a single decimal. That's 5 over 10, isn't it? Does 10 have a square root? No. So if there's one decimal, it's irrational. Always. Now here it's 2 decimals. And we got a square root. So is it possible? If I have 2 decimal places, 0.64, is that possible that there's a square root? Why? Because there's 2 decimal places, because that's 64 over 100. 100 has a square root, so does 64, so it works. What if there's 3 decimal places? 0.729. Does that have a square root? Or a cube root, I mean? No, square root. Does it? What is that if it were a fraction? It would be 729 over what? 1,000. Does 1,000 have a square root? No, because it's got 3 decimal places, right? What if it had 4 decimal places? 2 worked, 1 didn't. It would. Why? Because it's 10,000, and 10,000 has a square root, doesn't it? Square root of 10,000 is 100. Will 5 decimal places work? Will 6? Why? Because it's even. 7? 8? Yes. Possibly. It might not work, right? Everybody cool? All right, that's it for today. You have one worksheet in your book which begins for you guys on page 72. And it carries on to page 73. And that's it. Okay, now listen to me. Tomorrow is cumulative day. Yeah, there's a review. It's called your book. I will not provide you with a data booklet for your test tomorrow. You're allowed to use yours, but that would require you to have it. If you do not have it, you are out of luck, because I am tired of holding 16-year-olds' hands. Do I make myself clear? This is not the time when some of you wise ass say, well, I'm only 15. I know somebody was, Brianna. Somebody always is. Okay? How can you solve your problem in the next 28 minutes while I am right here? What? You could ask for a new copy now, because that shows me you are preparing yourself for your test tomorrow. Okay? I will, Brandy, tell you what is on that test tomorrow. Okay? It has 4 multiple choice questions, which you have already seen. Yes. On measurement, it has 3 open-ended questions on measurement, which you have already seen, but have different numbers this time. Understand what I'm saying? They may be on one of your old quizzes, which you got to keep. Maybe. I don't know. It has 3 trigonometry multiple choice questions and 3 trigonometry open-ended questions. I am giving you the entire block tomorrow to do it. The whole hour to do 14 questions. That's 4 minutes per question. I have only been talking for 1.5 minutes about this test. And most of you are already like, oh my God, shut up, you're still talking. And we're only at 1.5 minutes. 4 minutes is a long time per question. Okay? Everybody good? Now, I want to show you a couple of things before we go on. Please read the instructions. Do the square roots. If it's irrational, just write irrational. How do you know if it is irrational? It doesn't end. What if it's a fraction? If one of the numbers in a fraction is irrational, then is the whole fraction irrational? Yeah, just like what we were doing right here. Right? 9 over 16 works because they both have roots. But did 10 over 17? No. Would 10 over 16 work? No, because this guy doesn't. They both have to work for it to be rational. Cool? Everybody good? Go. You okay there, buddy? I said go, and you did like a beast thing. I don't even know what you said. Is that what you said? Okay, I did not hear that. I heard you sounded like angry Scooby-Doo, which never really happens because Scooby-Doo's baked all the time. So Shaggy and Scooby are always stoned. Why do you think they behave that way? They're paranoid. They're always hungry. They're happy with crunchy snacks. They live in a van with 2 girls and another guy. Yes. Yes.
Agenda.
Remember when we were gonna get the guy to draw it now?
Huh?
Remember when we were gonna get the guy to draw it?
Oh yeah. Who is it? The sub. We're gonna get them to draw me information instead of write it. I'd be like, Mr. Miles can do it. See if you'd be able to do it.
Thank you.
You're free to go today too.
Okay, I'm trying to think. If I can find it. Is it like these questions, right? The measurement, like these questions?
Yep.
Okay.
If you have your old quizzes, which you should because I've given them back to you, they would be really, 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 really good study tools for your cumulative exam tomorrow. Really good study tools for your cumulative exam tomorrow. Are you picking up what I am putting down? Yeah.
So it's 4, right?
Yeah. So you would hit 4, and then you get a cube root, and then you enter what you need.
Yeah.